Hey guys, Brian here from Vintage Classic Specialist. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hope everyone's week is going well, and it is time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist, as you guessed. Anyhow, why don't we go ahead and talk about what happened today? Actually, since I'm standing next to this beauty, we'll talk about what happened yesterday on this one. So if you follow the channel, you know that this 66 Beetle, super cool little car, by the way, came in for primarily a brake job, and we ended up finding some other little things that needed attention: leaking swing axle boots, leaking axle ends, fuel lines that were nearly rotten all the way through, some little things like that. But anyway, the paint on the car overall looked pretty good as far as not having a lot of, big scratches, and the car doesn't seem to have many visible dings or whatever. However, it was very just sort of oxidized looking and didn't really have much shine to it at all. And so I proposed to the owners that our paint and body guy Rene could spend about a day color sanding it and then buffing or polishing and buffing it. And he did, and the car looks way better, guys. I hope you can tell by what you're seeing here. I mean, is it perfect? No. However, compared to what it was looking like, huge improvement. Unfortunately, the car, and I don't know if this will kind of show, the car just had a lot of scratches in it that were pretty deep, and I don't know that they're really going to show on the video, but he's able to get a lot of the sort of superficial scratches and stuff out, the lighter ones, and bring a lot of shine out to it. But yeah, especially with a car like this, since obviously we didn't paint this car, we don't really have a good sense of how thick the paint is, and so usually it's better on a car like this to kind of err on the side of caution as far as the color sanding part of the process. And so I believe he pretty much just went over the car with 2000, which is, of course, it's getting pretty fine at that point. So, for example, when we paint a car, this one or this one, etc., and we do the color sand and buff after the paint job, we know that we've put a lot of good thick coats of paint on. We put a lot of thick coats of clear coat on. And so I believe Rene starts out with 1,500 maybe, or 1,200 even. It's fairly aggressive. But we know that that's okay because, again, we know how much paint and how much clear coat and stuff is on a car that we painted. So, on a car like this or this that we painted, we're pretty aggressive. And that's how we get, really beautiful paint jobs. But, with a car like this, which is just basically a huge unknown, again, totally err on the side of caution when it comes to color sanding. But, the car looks really great. I think they're going to be happy with it and hopefully find it worthwhile to what they're paying us to bring out the shine in it. So anyway, this car is officially done now, and they are going to pick it up, I believe, Monday. It was done, ended of the day yesterday, first thing this morning, but I guess the owner's schedule, he's not able to get it. So we get to look at it for a few more days, which is fine because it looks cool in our shop. It's a neat little car. So anyway, that happened yesterday, technically. And let's talk about this guy here for a while, this beautiful signal orange 70 Karmann Ghia. So Santiago has been continuing to work on the carpet, and you can kind of see some of his progress up here. And again, we chose a binding that should pretty much universally go with any leather that's going to go with this carpet. And so he went ahead and started adding the binding to the edges of the carpet. And we got the little firewall mat up there that came in today from Wolfsburg West. This is the same piece as for a Beetle. And so that allowed him to finish the firewall sort of section up there. We do have the little footrest piece here, but it needs to be powder coated because it's got some rust on it, needs some love. So, and this car being a custom car, it is going to have, I guess what I would call wall-to-wall carpet instead of rubber floor mat. So yeah, this thing is getting all the carpet, all on the floor. So we did take out some of the stock sort of tarboard on the floor that was in pretty bad shape in the two rear areas here, and put in the top secret material that we use. And, had Santiago went ahead and painted everything that's going to show, which is primarily like the seat rails and stuff like that, and the shifter and e-brake bases, stuff like that. So yeah, and he's been continuing to work on the carpet, so it is coming right along, guys. And as you would expect from Santiago and from our shop, everything looks super tidy and pretty hard to find fault with. So there you go, guys. So that's what Santiago's been up to lately. Rene, I don't really have any show and tell for. He has been continuing to work on the metal and body work on the white 67 Beetle. I think I gave you guys an update on that recently, so I'll give you another one here pretty soon, but it is moving right along. That car had a lot of issues, guys. Rust aside, it seems to have been used a lot over its life, and it's got a lot of panels that don't really line up to our specifications, so to speak. So yeah, he's spending a lot of time just getting, fenders and hood and deck lid and stuff like that to line up, and all the gaps to be perfect and stuff. We don't want ugly gaps. We want everything to be neat and tidy, kind of like this you see here. So he's spending some time on that on the white 67. All right, so let's talk about me. What I did today. So this car, if you're new here, this is a one family owned 64 Beetle that we did a complete restoration pan off on and finished it about a year and a half ago. And the owner unfortunately went a period of time when he wasn't able to get around to starting the car. It sat and sat and sat. And as they do when they sit, especially with the heat we've been having, I think the fuel in the carburetor evaporated and gummed up the idle jet and maybe some other things. So the car wouldn't idle, not surprisingly. And that's generally what happens when you don't start them for a long time and you have fuel evaporating from the carburetors. It leaves like a shellac almost. And the idle jet, which the orifice of which is like about, say, 0.5 millimeter, about 20 thousandths, hair more than that typically. That clogs up. So anyway, went through the carburetor, rebuilt it, did an oil change while I was at it, adjusted the valves, actually checked the valves. They were all pretty spot on. I think I mentioned most of this yesterday. So today came in, finished the oil change, installed the valve covers with new gaskets, installed the sump and screen, all cleaned up and with new kit, put the oil in, everything. Got it started. Idle's bitching now, runs good. I adjusted his choke a little bit relative to where it was to have a little bit more of a high idle effect when the car is cold. I noticed it was, it seemed like it needed a little bit more choke. So I did that to it, and it still warms up fully and opens fully, all that good stuff. However, took the car for a drive after I finished all that stuff, and I was just having a heck of a time getting the car into first gear. And during the course of the drive, it seemed like it kind of got worse. And I thought, well, okay. So I brought the car back and started monkeying around with the shifter as far as adjusting it. And no matter how I adjusted the shifter, I just really couldn't get it to select first gear. Every once in a while it would go in, but it was like, almost seemed like a fluke or luck or something. So finally I went ahead and pulled the shifter and peered in the tunnel, and not surprisingly, the stock original style nylon shift bushing, which we replaced of course when we built the car, it had failed, and there was a decent amount of slop in the shift rod where it goes through the little hanger there, just past where the shifter is in the tunnel. And so that was 100% the issue. So around the time that we were building this car, I think is when Washburn's Metal, you can look them up if you're not familiar with them, they came up with this incredible Delrin shift rod bushing that is pretty much indestructible and will probably outlast almost everything else on the car. And I think that was around the time we were putting the chassis for this car together. I don't think it was out yet, or I don't know. We didn't know about them yet. Anyway, it was pretty early on in the process, I think, of those shift bushings. And we weren't really installing them on anything yet. Again, they may or may not have been available, but not widely known. Anyhow, long story short. So this car got the stock style, and apparently it just let go or something. And if that thing is out, it's good luck getting them to shift well, and you got to just kind of feel your way into the gears, and even then sometimes they won't go because there's too much movement of the shift rod itself. And so yeah, I went ahead and did the not fun at all job of replacing that shift rod bushing, because basically what you have to do is you have to pull the front bumper. There's a couple axis covers that you have to pull, and then you have to disconnect the shift rod at the back of the transmission and then feed the thing pretty much all the way out of the car, essentially. I probably could have got away with not removing it all the way from the car. However, part of the original style shift bushing was still on the shift rod, and I just felt like it would have been super weird for me to leave it on there, even though it would have literally hurt nothing. That's not really how we do things in this shop. So I went ahead and pulled the shift rod out all the way and took that pile of garbage off of it, and then put the new Delrin shift bushing in, put the shift rod in, connected everything, and it shifts probably better than it ever has, because those bushings are super precise. And they do tend to tighten up the shift feel a little bit, but to me it's worth it, because the precision of those is just totally unmatched by the stock style ones, and I'm pretty sure it will literally last forever. So yeah, that was kind of a surprise that I didn't necessarily expect to do, but you know, as usual when that sort of thing happens, I'm glad that it happened when the car was in our shop, because I think it must have been very close to failing. Because when I first started driving the car around, I was selecting all the gears without too much trouble. It might have felt like a little, kind of notchy or whatever, but finally on this just like couple mile drive, it got to where I was at a stoplight, and I could not get the car in first, and there was like traffic behind me, and the light changed, and finally I think I wasn't even really able to get it into second, that whole side, the 1-2 side of the shift pattern. And so finally, I think I put the thing in third and just like slipped the hell out of the clutch to get moving before people started like honking at me and calling me names and giving me dirty looks and, maybe shooting me. Who knows? Road rage is a thing, as you guys know. So anyway, yeah, I got it back here, and that's when I sort of eventually discovered that the bushing was bad. So anyway, sorry, that was kind of a long story, but that was just an unintended thing, or not previously planned on, that we ended up doing with this car, which is why I pretty much worked on it all day today. Although the original plan was to just finish up its oil change, button it up, and it would have been done. But again, glad it happened here instead of with the customer, so we could just go ahead and take care of it. And so, guys, I believe that is actually my day. So thank you all very much for watching, and I guess we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.